So this is it. After 56 games, it all comes down to this one. Hampden Park tomorrow, 3 o'clock kick-off. The Celtic face up to Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup final for what would be a historic 9th treble for Celtic. Unbelievable stuff. This is Tino with the Countdown to Kick-Off show, joined here by Brydo. Brydo, how much are you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, I'm buzzing for it, mate, to be honest. It's kind of crept up on me a wee bit. I've been really busy, obviously, after winning the league when we won that and got over the line, and we've then had wee side shows like wee Jamesie and getting his goal and stuff like that to kind of keep that excitement and energy around those games. It's kind of crept up on me, and then this week the build up for it, and then just looking at who's available, who's not available. I'm a big fan of saying that, you know, although we've had a lot of cup finals in our recent history, we can't take them for granted, and we certainly can't almost just treat them as if they're just any other game. Scottish Cup finals, I've got memories for probably most of the folk that will listen and watch what we're doing today, with family and all the rest of it. So I hope everybody has a great day and we get the result we need, but which I'm fully confident we will.
Yeah, and we'll get into the kind of detail of that and what we're expecting from Celtic and to an extent from Aberdeen. But I was listening to Brendan Rodgers doing his pre-match. He done it on Thursday there, so kind of watched that in full, 20 minutes or so. And he was asked a question, which that was a strange question as such, about, you know, do you still get excited for these games? To an extent, I can see where the person's coming from, you know, given how many times Brendan Rodgers has been here, done that. You know, this would be his 12th trophy for Celtic. But the manager was quick to point out, you know, the butterflies, the excitement and the buzz you get is still there as much as any other cup final. And I was going to ask, from your point of view, how do you think the group, the players, will be feeling ahead of this one? You know, it's easy through the season, and we're guilty of it ourselves to almost, you know, think of the players as robots, just turn up and win. That's not how it works. And cup finals are emotional as much as anything else. How do you think they'll be feeling ahead of the trip to Hampden?
I think they'll be absolutely buzzing for it. At any level of football, if you're involved in a cup final, there's an excitement around it. That's why we make the occasions what they are. Because of the nervous excitement, the frustration if you lose, the heavy disappointment if you lose. But when you win, it's reflected the other way. So I think that I'm kind of sick of this. There's a wee kind of media, not agenda as such, maybe, but it seems to be this constant thing that it's too easy for Celtic. It's so easy for Celtic. It's so easy for Celtic. It's like constantly asking questions. You still get excited. I mean, I think that's a stupid question, if I'm being honest with you. And maybe, you know, even if he wasn't excited, what's he going to say? You know, so I just feel like that's what we're up against, alongside the excitement about Rangers being stronger. It's going to be great because Rangers are stronger. Well, we don't care if Rangers are stronger. You know, it says about Celtic and Celtic winning trophies and continually keeping the foot on the throat of the opposition, which is what we've been doing. And I fully expect us to continue to do that. But it's different as fans because we've had so many cup finals, but a lot of these players haven't, you know, and I think it's important to remember that guys like Adam Ida, who scored the winner, obviously, in his loan spell. I mean, there's a guy coming, joined on loan and bangs in the winner, didn't he, against Rangers? So he's going to have fond memories of stuff like that. He'll remember it forever. So players will be dreaming of scoring the winner and lifting the trophy. So I fully expect that, plus the experienced players reminding them. Kasper Schmeichel talks about it all the time, about it's not easy to do it at Celtic. It's not easy to win every week. And guys like Calmac and James Forrest will be talking about, you know, staying professional, staying on point, and taking the game to the opposition. And if we do that, there shouldn't be any doubts about the result.
I think you're right, and I'm going to repeat something I mentioned during the week. Kasper Schmeichel has been speaking in recent times about Celtic are so successful, not solely because they've got the most talent and the biggest budgets and they're the biggest club in the country, but because they work harder than anybody else. And he was quick to emphasise that. He says all the stats are there, you know, all the tracking devices players wear and training and games. He said it's there, you know, in front of you in black and white. We put in the hours, put in the work, and we get the rewards in the back of that. And that's a huge message to send out. And I like the fact that the tedious treble narrative seems to have kind of drifted away. I think those who said that at the time, whoever it may be, whatever journalists, whatever opposition fans, I think they've realised that's pretty foolish. It's a nonsense to describe a treble, which is something that, as of right now, has only happened 8 times in Celtic's history, is in any way something that should be, par for the course or taken for granted. Brydo, you mentioned cup finals, and there are always occasions to look forward to, players, coaches, managers, fans alike. But there are individuals in this Celtic side who won't have played in many. You can include guys like Engels. These guys obviously played for us in the League Cup final this season. But guys like Engels, Nicholas Kuhn, not sure how many finals he's played in it, his senior football. Luke McCowan, he'll be certainly keen to get involved. Paulo Bernardo, even Sean McArdle, this would be huge for him. You've got these guys, Brydo, who will have experiences of that, and they've won a league now, and they've had bits of it with Celtic, but they'll be thriving on these opportunities. And I'm sure James Forrest and Callum McGregor will tell them to embrace it, because they don't, as much as it feels like it, they don't come around all the time in a full career, and these guys need to make the most of it.
Absolutely. I mean, football careers are not that long, and there's not that many opportunities. At Celtic, they may get more than the average team, of course, because of our dominance in the domestic league. But guys like the players you've mentioned there are signing for Celtic to win trophies. Kasper Schmeichel had a fantastic career, but he won a massive trophy with Leicester and what they done. But he's not won a lot of trophies, so he's finishing his career by battering it the best he can and rocking up as many medals chalking up as many medals as he can. And other players at the other end of their career, like young McArdle, who I have to say is just, I think he's he's got proper class in how he plays and his confidence. And I hope he features for longer than a few minutes at the weekend. And we should be excited about guys like that. And they should be excited about being part of a day like the Cup final. So you're absolutely right, mate. I think, it's got to be moments they cherish. It has to be. Otherwise, they're at the wrong club. And quite frankly, I don't think anybody's given us any hints that they don't belong at our level and our team domestically. So all power to them all to go and get the winners' medal. And if they play the way we think we can play against a team like Aberdeen, they can make it a really enjoyable afternoon as much as anything else.
Yeah, whether it's sunny or not, but it looks like rain is on the way, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The manager was asked about the culture at the club and does he need to, does the team talk take care of itself? He says you always need to motivate to spur guys on. He says, he'll be as prepped as he always is. He's meticulous in his prep. He says there'll be a presentation today, Friday, at the hotel, and a further presentation tomorrow morning, the morning of the game. He said the players will find out today. That's his usual approach as to what the team will be. And we'll get to that in just a minute, Brydo. There are various narratives. You mentioned that there's various stories going on. You get the manager himself, who is unbeaten at Hampden. Should have checked the number, but unbeaten at Hampden, in 2 spells at Celtic, incredible stuff. He just doesn't know how to lose there. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, like the League Cup final had to go to extra time and penalties. Aberdeen last year in the Scottish Cup semi-final. But that aside, he takes care of business, and that's in the players' minds. They know how to turn up and win at Hampden. You've got Callum McGregor in a very similar position. He's played 13 finals at the National Stadium. He's won all 13 of them. I think it's 8 League Cups and 5 Scottish Cups. Into the bargain, just for fun, he's won 4 Youth Cup finals there as well. Again, it's just a mindset. It's just a thing. He just knows how to go and win there. Jamesie Forrest, been there, done it, and then some. But there's those kind of stories, Brydo, those kind of real positive Hampden stories we know about. But there's separate things going on. There's Greg Taylor, maybe his last game for Celtic, maybe not. It's still up for debate, and the manager said that. Daizen Maeda, he's a top scorer in this season's competition. He's got 7 goals so far, and he's had some season, 33 goals to boot. There's so much going on, Brydo, and so much to get excited about from a team level and also for some of the individuals involved.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes the team and the squad that we go and watch every week. There needs to be a combination of the individual stories and the individual which start, essentially restart every season. Obviously, Jamesie's stuff started a long time ago, as did Calmac's, and but because of their attitude, because of the professionalism, because of essentially how they've been brought up at Celtic in regards to the coaches they had as young players, that's driven them on, and their story will get told to the guys like McArdle's and the younger players, even younger than him. This is how clubs like Celtic become what they are and become what we are. And that is, it's like constantly looking forward, but at the right time, looking back and saying, that's what we've done right. Sometimes it's what did we do wrong to move forward, but on the whole, we're getting those things right. Great to see some of the young players come through. But the stories like Maida's story is just, I mean, I could not see past Nicholas Kuhn for every award up until December or something.
Yeah.
Like, we had chats about Kuhn being, is he better than Jota? Is he better than Abada? I thought it was a mix of both, like, the numbers and then the skill and the excitement of Jota. Jota miraculously then comes back and Kuhn decides to go on holiday for 2 months. And, I'll talk to Nicholas Kuhn maybe a bit later on, but Maida then decides, oh, where's Kyogo went? Oh, he's away to rent for a rest as well. He's not going to play football there. He's just going to chill out for a bit in France. All right, I'm just going to become this absolute worldie like attacker. That I honestly thought, it shows you how little we know, really. Like, I just thought they had real proper limitations on his game, and he's just went, oh, nah, no thanks, and just banged in goals, setting up goals, left wing, centre forward, anywhere really. He's a fantastic asset for us, and then he'll probably will win the top goal scorer in that. But it'd be good for him to cap off his phenomenal season, and he's won all the awards and stuff with a goal to win the cup final, or a couple of goals to win the cup final, I think. So all their stories will come to a completion essentially for this part.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wouldn't surprise me if Jamesie Forrest, if he starts or he's a sub, comes on and scores again. And I was so pleased for him to get his moment, because he's just not that guy. And we've never really celebrated him properly until the last few months, really.
I was on a Zoom call with him yesterday or the day before. The club had organised something, so got to chat to him, got a few questions to him, and everything about James Forrest has evolved. He's no longer the shy, introverted kind of wee guy. He's kind of sits back, he's relaxed, and he gives strong, confident answers, which wasn't always the case for him. And certainly his game on the park has evolved, and then some, in terms of how mature he is and how careful he is in possession and how key he is to everything the manager wants to do. He'll play a part tomorrow, whether from the start or off the bench, and we'll get to that. Daizen Maeda absolutely will start, and what a campaign for him. He is at the peak of his powers. And you said whether he's at left wing or centre forward, I honestly think you could play Daizen at right back and he would still be just as good. An incredible season, but we'll get there when we get there, Brydo. Let's start at the back. Sinisalo's been great, credit to him, but Casper's back, he's fit, he's available, he 100% starts. We'll not dwell on that. In the back four, tell me if you see otherwise, then Alistair Johnson at right back, Greg Taylor, whether he stays or not, at left back, and Carter Vickers and Scales will be the pairing for me. What are you saying to that?
Totally agree. And it's not, Taylor's not there for sentimental reasons or anything like that. There's no sentimentality for the team he picks in the cup final. But I think Taylor, again, I feel like a broken record. He has limitations at certain levels of the game. We've seen that. But I don't think any Celtic fan can, over the last few years, have any question marks over Greg Taylor's input, both on and off the park, at the success of Celtic. And he can hold his head high if he does go. And if he stays, I think I'll still be happy enough. Because I know that Tierney's coming in, and that's the level above that I think for certain games or whatever. So Taylor for me gets the nod over Sloop. Sloop's kind of slowed down a wee bit, I think. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but I think Sloop in some of the games has just not looked as hungry maybe as he was before. And Scales, I think, again, you've got to give him credit. He's in the team a lot of games, trusty signs. Next thing, he's basically out in his arse. And then he gets given a chance. And whether I don't even really remember Trusty being overly bad or anything like that. But he gets put back in. And, Scales, with the exception of the game at Ibrox, where I think I've said he's still suffering PTSD from it. I am. It doesn't normally let you down, especially domestically. Again, domestically is important. Carter Vickers is standard. I do think, though, going forward in the summer, we really need to start thinking about the future after Carter Vickers. As he gets older, he'll pick up even more injuries, and I think that needs to be addressed. And Alistair Johnson, I think, has been phenomenal for Celtic. So I think it's a solid 4.
Yeah, he really has. And there are discussions to be had. I think we've spoken at different times about the priority areas in the team, and is it a defensive midfielder to support Calmac? Is it another striker? Centre half is a position to be looked at, and I'd have no doubt the manager is looking at that, because Carter Vickers may decide this summer that a new challenge awaits, or Trusty might decide he's not here to sit on the bench, or the manager might decide that for him. Liam Scales in for a bit, out for a bit, and so on and so forth. And then you've got the other subplots of Nawrocki, Dane Murray, who the manager likes, and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of the here and now, that should, I think, be the four for Saturday. And there's a quote from Alistair Johnson, we put it on the socials just yesterday. He says, "We want to win every piece of silverware, and we all have that desire and desperation to do it again on Saturday. If you can't get up for finals, there's probably something wrong with you." And that's the tone, Brydo. That's the kind of the leadership he brings, because he's not the club captain, and he's not even the vice captain. He gets the armband if Carter Vickers isn't around, but he's an absolute leader within that dressing room.
Was it Alistair Johnson that said that, mate? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he speaks really well. You tend to find a lot of the guys that come from Canada and America do tend to speak quite well anyway. But he says the right things at the right times. And what I like the most about him is that he's so athletic, obviously, we know that, and he offers the stuff that he offers. But he's not scared to do the dirty parts of the game as well. He doesn't mind winding a winger up. He doesn't mind leaving the boot in. He doesn't mind taking a yellow when he has to get a yellow. He loves defending as well, which is almost unique for fullbacks these days. But the point you're making there about his leadership qualities, and he's had the armband a few times. I think most Celtic fans are looking at that team and picking 4 or 5 people who could quite easily step in and be the captain on any given day. So I think that's the type of leadership, and they can keep each other honest if they have to, and they can give each other a scalp the back of the head if they have to, and G them up if they have to. These players, you can't have so many or too many in a team, and I think he's very, very important to what we do. Ralston's okay, we know what he can bring, but Alistair Johnson is very, very important, and I'm actually worried about a guy like him. He must attract attention from teams across Europe, for sure.
James is of a similar mindset. He says he's got the lot. He's got everything you'd want from your fullback: defensive qualities, attacking qualities, leadership qualities. You can see why he'd be on the radar. But what we do know for sure is he's available for Hampden, and hopefully he gets the nod there. What you do have, Brydo, all round is a number of leaders, as you mentioned. You've absolutely got Calmac, Carter Vickers, Johnson, Casper Schmeichel can take the armband, a couple of others, and you've got a returning leader in the shape of Kieran Tierney. And that mirrors what you've seen with Martin O'Neill's successful sides of the early 2000s. He just had captains throughout his team, whether it was Lenny, Paul Lambert's, Sutton's, Larson's, various other guys, were huge for him. And I think that's such an important thing in terms of the culture and setting the tone within your dressing room. We'll get to the midfield in just a second. You mentioned Jeffrey Schlupp very quickly. Most folks will have seen the fact that he got an FA Cup winners medal. Palace obviously beat Man City last week, and he played, I think it was 13 minutes in an early round against, I don't know, Boreham Wood or Darlington, I don't know who. But he's got an FA Cup winners medal. He could add a Scottish Cup medal to that. He's got a League Cup medal. He'll have a league medal. It's been a hell of a season for Jeff.
I wonder if that's happened before. That could be one of those amazing quiz questions that come up. It's how many players have because it's fairly unique, isn't it? I mean, it's wow. I thought you had to play. I suppose not if you feature, isn't it? If you feature in the winning team, you basically get a medal, or you're in a squad. I mean, it's been I think at the time when he first came, you could see his power, you could see his pace, and that was in stark contrast to Greg Taylor. Let's be brutally honest. I mean, it's the complete opposite type of player to Greg Taylor. But Greg Taylor does offer things that I think Schlupp doesn't. Greg Taylor offers the consistency. He offers the fact that he's probably actually, sounds daft, but he won't wander, Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor knows where he's meant to be most of the time, and he doesn't get beat that often, and he doesn't lose his man at the back post and things like that. Schlupp has lost a couple of headers in the box, and just when that's your job, Greg Taylor, you can say, Greg, that's your job. I think he goes and does it impeccably. Schlupp, that's your man to mark. Raskin against Rangers, for example, I'm pretty sure he was marking bang goal twice. I think just wee things like that, I think it matters more to Taylor, quite frankly. But Schlupp, at one stage I was like, we need to do everything we can to keep this guy. I'm probably not so much in that bracket anymore, to be honest with me. I think tick the box for a loan deal. He came in, helped us out, shake your hand and go and get another medal up Scotland and in England, and God, what else is he winning the Bowls Championships at Shawlands or something like that? I mean, God only.
Do you know, his loan signing has made a lot of sense, and it's worked. We've had that cover that we require at left back. He's spelled in and out for games, but ultimately, Taylor retains the jersey and he'll get the jersey tomorrow. Yeah, right. Schlupp did have a tendency to wander. In one of his early games at one point, I seen him at right wing. I said, what are you doing here? A home game at Celtic Park. And he does kind of drift a bit. Greg Taylor does invert, but he knows where to be and where not to be. So, anyway, good luck to Jeffrey Schlupp. He's come up here, he's done a job, and he'll go home swimming in medals. So, all the best to him for that. And in the midfield, Bridal, we know 2 out of the 3 for absolute sure. Callum McGregor will take his place, and he'll be hoping to pick up a 14th win from 14 at Hampden, and Arnie Engels will join him in that midfield. The big question, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts, is it Paulo Bernardo or is it Luke McCowan?
I've got Bernardo written down in the bit of paper beside me here, and then McCowan and a big question mark through the two of them. So I don't think I'm going to be a great deal of help. I think Aberdeen, when Aberdeen actually play reasonably well, they try to bully that area. They try to congest it, and they might, and it's a big pitch as well. I think Luke McCowan is probably technically very, very good. I just don't think he travels very well in regards to on the pitch, not on his holidays. I just think he doesn't travel around the pitch as well as Bernardo does. Bernardo's far more athletic, I think. And I think having Bernardo and Engels and Callum McGregor in there, for me, is the better balance as such. But if McCowan started, I would have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. I think he's a really talented football player, and I think he's done well. He's done very well since he's moved to his boyhood heroes, obviously, which can swallow some of the players up and they don't actually have any impact. I think he's impacted most games he's been a part of. So I could be doing him an injustice by saying that, but I just think that I kind of also want to see Bernardo being asked to be one of the main men in the team as well. Again, he's got the injury, he was a bit part. I kind of maybe want to see that as well, just giving him that opportunity. So there's maybe a bit of that too. But Bernardo, Engels and Calmac for me.
Yeah, same for me. Bernardo gets the nod, and there'd be no doubt Luke McCowan would be disappointed by that. Anybody would be. But hopefully, if that's the move the manager makes, McCowan can shake off that disappointment because he'll have a part to play. Because you don't start doesn't mean you won't come in and have an impact. And ask Adam Ida about not starting Scottish Cup finals and then making an impact, because that's exactly what he done last season. And McCowan and others, whoever finds himself at the bench, when the manager was asked about the process and when he names the team, and as I say, he'll be naming that about now, Friday, he said it allows guys that are playing to focus on what their job will be on the day. It also allows those who aren't picked to make their peace and come to terms with the disappointment, because he understands, you can't really sugarcoat these things. If you're not playing, of course you're going to be disappointed, and guys need time to get their heads around that and then get themselves back on track for whatever part they'll have to play off the bench. So important, whether you're starting or not, to stay fully focused, and I've no doubt this squad will do so. Brydo up top, again, I think it does pick itself, but there is a debate. So I think it's definitely Daizen Maeda on the left. I think it's either through the middle, and the question mark, similar to Bernardo v McCowan, it's Kuhn versus James Forrest. What you go with and why?
So I've wrote Kuhn, Ida, and then Maeda as my 3. But the question mark's not even a question mark. It's just a wee bit of annoyance around Kuhn. And it's the shaking of the head. It's the celebrations, as if he shouldn't be under any form of criticism or whatever. I think he's by far the best player out of the players we've mentioned. Is Yang fit as well?
Yeah, all good.
So, you've got Forrest and Yang, and I imagine that's the only real wingers we've got left. But Kuhn undoubtedly is the best of those 3. So it's nothing to do with ability. So if I picked on ability, Kuhn would play every game. He's just annoying me. He's just annoying me. He gets taken off in a game. It wasn't great against St Mirren, right? And he gets taken off to bring on Forest, and we all know the story behind that, right? And he's shaking his head. It's like about me. And I get the Garnacho type feeling about him. You know, it's like, oh, what about me? What have I done? You know, why am I not playing? He will play. I'm fairly certain he will start. But he's just annoying me. And I'm going to message him later on and tell him to stop annoying me, because like when you play with Celtic, it has to be about the team. And Rodgers doesn't suffer that. So there is a question mark a wee bit, that does Rodgers see those types of things, and does he address it by saying, nah, you're not playing? I don't think he does. I don't think he makes it a bigger issue. I think it's easy for Rodgers to try and ignore it, and it doesn't exist. But he just needs to stop it and just do his talking on the park, as opposed to his celebrations or his kind of wee huffs that he goes in. But I guess that's just the temperament and the personality of the player, and we have to just accept it. But I would love Forrest to start in the game, but also I'd love him to come on and do something as well. So, but it's not James Forrest's last game. You know, it's like, but yeah. I'm talking as if it's like, see you later, Jamesie. It's not at all. He's impacting the games enough to be part of the squad going forward. So, and more credit to him. And then Adam Idah, yeah, I think if Jota's fit, Idah's got a problem, but he needs to just sharpen up. You know, even still, another opportunity I think awaits him. He needs to grab it and say that he's the man and that's his position. And it's been great for Daizen to go and do what he's done, but that's his position, because otherwise he's going to just sink at Celtic. Similar to what I was talking about with Luke McCowan, you know, if he does not impact in the games and bringing players in and his first touch isn't good enough and he doesn't score a couple of goals in big matches, people are going to start just going, he's not the answer. They're already doing it, let's be brutally honest. There's big question marks over the fee and the big question marks, and he get interviewed and he thinks he's had a good season because he scored 16 or 17 goals or whatever, and they said about the number of minutes I've played, the number of goals I've scored. She's obviously clearly thinking about his input. I, for one, don't think it's been enough, and I think that he needs to really get his act together. He had a golden opportunity to do that when Kyogo got sold in January. It should have been his jersey. It should have been his. Maida shouldn't have got a chance to play in that position, and because Idah didn't do it, we then found Daizen's qualities in through the middle, and he then finds himself on the bench a lot more than maybe he should have done. And I think that he's got to sort that out, or he's not going to be at Celtic very long.
Lot to unpack there, Brydo. Lot of front three chat. Kuhn's not your guy.
Get them all out. They're all...
So Kuhn's not for you. Idah's not for you. Johnny Kenny, we've even mentioned him, but
I've got him in bracket. I've got him in bracket.
I just think for the manager, for Brendan Rodgers, it is all about the team. And I think you mentioned it earlier on, he doesn't pick teams on sentimentality. James Forrest, yeah, he's got less years ahead of him than behind him, but he's still got a part to play. He's signed up to next season, and hopefully that extends as well. But the manager will pick either James Forrest or Nicholas Kuhn because he feels one or the other will be the most effective on the day. I think it will be Nicholas Kuhn. I don't have a great issue with Nicholas Kuhn. I think he's just quite a low-key character. Some people can, read that as being, sultry and all that, kind of stuff. I don't have an issue with it. What I do like about the front three, Kuhn, Idah, Maeda, they've all scored in cup finals at Hampden. Let me get this right. Kuhn and Maeda scored in the League Cup final as recently as December. Adam Idah scored in this very fixture this time last season. That's huge. The confidence and the knowledge that you've been here, done that. And there's a huge opportunity for whoever gets the nod to go and add to their Celtic legacy. And then it's up to others who come in off the bench, as I mentioned, whether it's Forrest, whether it's Yang, whether it's Johnny Kenny, whether it's Sean McArdle. These guys can all play a part, and let's hope they do. But in terms of Aberdeen, it's a funny one for them. I have mentioned the fact that it's a game that will be giving Jimmy Tilleen nightmares because he won't know whether to stick or twist. You can go toe-to-toe, and a lot of the fans will want them to do so and have a go at this and see what you get. And in any given 90 minutes, you can get away with that. Or you can park the bus and hope for the best, even take it to extra time and penalties and take a more negative approach. Some fans won't allow for that. It's a very difficult one, but what he can't afford, particularly given the collapse, let's call it what it is in the second half of the season, he can't afford to do. He can't afford 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7-0, and that wouldn't be totally unrealistic. I'm just going to tell you quickly, I'll remind you quickly of the scores and the 5 fixtures between the teams so far this season. League-wise, 2 each game at Celtic Park. We won 1-0 at Pittodrie. You and I were there with James and Joe got absolutely soaked. And then we've beat them 5-1 twice since then. We also quite famously beat them 6-0 in the League Cup semi-final. Goals for and against, 19 goals for Celtic, 4 for Aberdeen. Bookies rarely get it wrong, Brydo. Celtic are overwhelming favourites for this one, and rightly so. And that's a real headache for Jimmy Tillene and his Aberdeen side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it is a cup final, and cup finals, we don't tend to see routes, in cup finals at the top level. So I'm conscious of that. But every footballing part of me can't see anything but a Celtic win. And Aberdeen, it's good that those results actually kind of showed it was the 2 each at Celtic Park, which at that time Aberdeen were flying. They were absolutely flying. They were putting basically the same kind of 11, 12, 13 players, and they were dancing at the tune that Jimmy Tillene was playing. And then the 1-0 at Pittodrie again, it was a 50-50 game. The weather was rubbish and all the rest of it, but it could easily went the other way. And then the next ones after that is when we witnessed the Aberdeen absolute fall from the cliff and really, really struggled to get their season back on track again. For their reasons, they'll know more about that than us. But this being a cup final and they're maybe less pressure, they're not thinking about, they were second, they were third, now they're fifth, and they're not thinking about that as much. It's a one-off game. I think he'll probably try and keep it really tight. And I think he'll play guys like Shaden Morris and stuff. If he's available, I think he should be. He's got real pace. Nisbet's a good finisher. Clarkson's a good technician in the middle of the park. The boy, Gay? Is it Gay or something like that? The one that injured Papa Gay. He the one that had to tackle with. I think he's actually a decent big player. So if they play guys like that, they've got threats. They have got threats. But I do think Celtic will, whether they want to sit in or not, I think they'll end up falling into that trap anyway, because I think Celtic will be so aggressive with the ball. And the Celtic move the ball on that big Hampden pitch as quick as we want them to. Even if there is a bit of rain as well, it'll probably help Celtic, to be honest, and just get the part of the ball be zipping about. Yeah, I if I was Aberdeen, not want to tempt fate, but I think I would be quite concerned about selling half of Hampden and half of Hampden want to go home at half time, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think some of them will be approaching this game with a mix of excitement and absolute nerves at what this game could be. You mentioned the big expansive park on Hampden. I was on the locker room show with Regan during the week. Thanks to Regan for having us on, and thanks to Michael for inviting me along for that one. And they asked where this game might be won or lost, and I think it's the width on that huge Hampden surface which could really cause them trouble. Even, just recently we've seen James Forrest running at Graham Shinney, who'd fallen into a left back position. They couldn't cope with that, and Hampden's bigger again. And I just think it plays in. It might be a huge reason for Brendan Rodgers' success. He loves width in his teams, and that success that's followed him at Hampden. It's no coincidence. There's a lot of factors at play. There's a winning mentality. He's got great groups. They're so well drilled, but the width and the space to go at the fullbacks, it really plays into Celtic's hands. And I think that is, I was going to say where the game could be won and lost. It's where it could be 1-1. There should be no. I don't think anyone at Celtic will be contemplating a loss, not in an arrogant or a cocky way. It's just Celtic with all their resources and how we're fixed at this moment in time, and we seem to have re-hit the heights at the right time in the season. It all points towards a Celtic win, Brydo, and it's so hard to see past that. Let me ask you for your scoreline prediction and your reasons why.
I've actually got 4-0. So, and I know I'm saying it's not a route and stuff in cup finals, and that is a concern, but I just think I look at the games that have been recently, and that's I just can't see Aberdeen, even for that one-off game, I just can't see them being able to raise their level to a level that puts us in danger. And I think we've still got hungry players, like you've mentioned and alluded to earlier on. I think Taylor wants to go out with a win if he does leave. He's going to be, he always does it anyway, to be fair to him. Engels, Ida, they've still got stuff to prove a wee bit to some people. Yeah. And what better way to do that in performing than being the man of the match in a cup final and things like that. So Bernardo's another one. So he's got an opportunity to make that position his own. So Yeah, I think that's the problem Aberdeen have got is essentially how strong Celtic are. Our bench won't be crazy strong because of Jota and Hatati's they're missing, obviously. So if it is sticky for half an hour or so, the first half, and we go into the second half and it's all square, we don't have that same power to come off the bench and really destroy teams when they're tired. So we really need to be careful if the game does go like that, is that we stick to our principles and get the job done. So if it's not my 4-0, as long as it's 1-0, I don't care. But I do think 3 or 4-0 with the threats of Kuhn, Forrest, Maida, whichever one of those are playing. And I think it's too much for them.
Yeah, and if it's not working out, Brydo, all the manager has to do is glance down the bench, give Yang the nod, and it'll all be fine. It'll all be fine. I would love nothing more than Yang to come on and have an impact in this final. I've been behind them all season and then some. Took a bit of grief for that, and a lot of people have since come round, not because of me, but because of Yang and what he's been doing. I'd love a guy like him to have an impact, but there's so many stories, so many guys that maybe do feel they've got a point to prove, whether they're at one end of their Celtic career, Calmac, Jamesie, Forrest, Greg Taylor even, or whether the complete opposite, new guys and young guys like Sean McArdle. There's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of exciting wee stories building. That's the big buzz for me, Brydo, and I'm going to go 3-0. I just can't at this moment picture Aberdeen doing enough to get a goal. Anything can happen with a set piece, corners, free kicks, but in open play, I don't know if they've got enough about them to break Celtic down, despite some of the talented individuals you mentioned. As I say, though, in terms of the games so far this season, they've only scored twice against us in the last 4 games. So they're struggling to get goals against this Celtic rearguard. And you better believe Kasper Schmeichel will absolutely go out and take pride in potentially getting a clean sheet in a cup final. So it's all there for us, Bridal. It's all set to be a really exciting day. 3 o'clock kickoff at Hampden Park. It might be raining, sun might be splitting the trees, who knows, but there's so much excitement regardless what the weather will bring. I'll come to you now, Bridal, for your final thoughts ahead of this season's Scottish Cup final.
Yeah, I just hope it's going to be a fantastic day, and I fully expect it's going to be. And as per, we've got to keep telling people how excited we get for these games as if they don't believe us, because we get to finals all the time. It must be boring. I've had Falkirk fans saying to me, it must be boring. And surely you want a strong... No, I don't want any of that. I don't care about them. I don't care about anybody else other than what we do. And I think that's the attitude that most of us Celtic fans kind of take on. We don't care. And you can talk about it and talk and talk and talk. Celtic for a long time now are walking the walk continuously. They're constantly doing it. The trophy numbers, the number of medals that players that have been there for a long time have got, even the number of medals that players have been there for a reasonably short time have got. And that's testament to the club as a whole. And I think it's a perfect way to sign off an excellent season. We've won it because we've been good. People keep saying we've won it because Rangers have been bad. No, we've won it because we've been good. And that's testament to the fact that it could be a treble, as in we've won the cup competitions, we've had to beat other teams. So for me, it should be a fantastic day. Another history-making treble, hopefully. Hopefully some of those other stories come to fruition. And, as a Celtic family, we just enjoy another win and another trophy and another number away from the most successful club that used to be. Yeah,
mind the gap. Bridal, brilliant stuff, and it's such an exciting one. There's so much to look forward to. We mentioned individual stories, the Jamesie Forrest story, the Daizen story, Calmac, Greg Taylor, Arne Engels, you name it. There's so many, the Yang story, of course, so many things going on, and we're all excited about that. But overall, Bridal, it's a Celtic story, and it's the chance to go and win 121 trophies for Celtic in 138 years. It's a chance to add and further extend our amazing domestic treble record. We'd go from 8 to 9 with a win here. And overall, it's just such a huge day, as I say, for fans, players, coaches, everyone associated with Celtic. And hopefully it's another massive day for us at Hampden Park. Bradley, thanks for joining us for this one. Thanks to everyone who continues to support us here on the Celtic Exchange. Hopefully another really special day in Celtic for all of us tomorrow. We will be back on Sunday. Myself and Paddy are planning to do a post-match on Sunday, and hopefully it's a celebratory one. Have a brilliant weekend, everyone. Enjoy Hampden. We'll see you all again really soon.